everyone. Thanks for joining us. Corporate tax registration is the subject. We had an announcement that came from the FTA fairly recently, and giving us an update on the deadlines for registering for corporate tax. So we thought it was important that we do this webinar. Initially, it was presented to everyone that we had a little bit more time than we were expecting, right, Arnold?
Yes.
Yeah. Now they've moved the dates up to earlier. So happy that you guys can be with us today, so we can give you a breakdown of what the new rules are and what is expected of you as a taxpayer. And this is going to now vary from company to company based on a few factors. We'll go through, we'll start the presentation. I think I'll pull up now the topics that we're covering. So here's the topics are up. So thanks so much for everyone coming in. I think we'll get it going. My name is Zahir Anis. I'm joined by my colleague Arnold Gagani. We're the team for Alliott UAE tax, and we're happy to provide you this yet another webinar session of knowledge where on corporate tax, the subject matter that everybody, all companies should be taking important look at, reviewing at all aspects from registration to filing to impact assessment for their business and planning and budgeting. So it's great that you guys to be with us today, and today we'll go through some of the tax registration considerations. Us at Alliott Hadi Shahid and Alliott Management Consulting, we're providing accounting, audit, and related services, and through Alliott Management Consulting, we're providing tax services. So we've done a lot of work for VAT. We did, and then now we're moving into providing client support with respect to corporate tax. This is a subject that is evolving. It requires a lot of planning and preparation. And I do recommend to everyone who is joining us today to please work with an advisor, a reputed advisor, and knowledgeable advisor to help you navigate your corporate tax compliance. This is going to be a bit more different from VAT, and this is going to have a bit more complexity. So it's important that you're not doing this alone. And now I'll just sort of go through what we're going to be discussing today. We'll, of course, everyone knows why today's webinar is important, but how it's critical to you as a company and managers of companies, some of the considerations on taxable persons, because the rules are not the same for everyone. So you have to know where you're fitting in. And then there's going to be some deadlines and examples of for you to use and to illustrate our points. Penalty considerations, nobody wants those, but if we are careful, then we can avoid them. It's very important. And then registration tips that you should consider. We'll have the portal sort of screenshotted here to give you some idea of what it looks like on the portal. And yeah, so that will be the presentation for today. With that, I will kick things off. How are you, Arnold? Good. We can begin now, I think.
Yes.
We have... Okay. Just quickly on everyone, as I've just already mentioned, this is important for everyone to come in to avoid any type of interactions with the FTA. We already have learned that once you end up in a penalty situation, it's very hard to remove it. And when you're submitting information to the FTA, you should be very careful to ensure that your documentation is correct, the information is correct, and you yourself are assessing your the company's how the company is being considered under the corporate tax law. And so this aspect of, juridical person, non-resident juridical persons, natural persons engaging in business activity, this will be touching upon that during our presentation. So the criteria for defining taxable person will also be, we'll be looking at. And aside from, of course, the deadlines and for the registration. Okay, so corporate tax registration considerations. So initially we had we were informed that we had 9 months to the filing of 9 months towards the end of how would I say end of the fiscal year to submit our corporate tax returns, and the deadline to get registered would be around this, would be the same time. So you could have gotten registered and perhaps within the time frame of 9 months after the end of the financial year, and then submit your VAT return. Well, that was before. Things are now different, and there are some possible reasons for this deadline to be shifted. So it could be they want to align with global tax practices, accelerating the corporate tax registration deadline. The low turnover of the businesses are currently unregistered, so it'll push companies to register earlier than planned. It's definitely more so on enhancing the compliance and governance. So an earlier deadline may encourage businesses to start planning and preparing for the corporate tax and introducing governance practices earlier. This could be also part of a broader fiscal policy, and of course they want to ease the compliance on the FTA, and taxpayers want to avoid situations where everyone is registering to register perhaps just before their deadline and then trying to file at the same time. So in essence, it makes more sense to have your registration done early such that people can plan and prepare accordingly. You never want to be in a situation where you're trying to get registered and then perhaps there's some maybe some issues. Your applications gets returned back and they want you to amend it, and so you would lose time there. So in an effort to perhaps be a bit more organized, to limit the stress that may be on the FTA and the officers at the FTA that will be processing the registrations, they would better to have bring up the deadline earlier and get folks registered earlier. Arnold, and your thoughts on this, Arnold? What your thoughts are with respect to this decision number 3 of 24?
Yes, so this is actually, of course, when it was announced, okay, Mr. Jerry, we have received so many calls, okay, because a majority of them, they have only noticed two things. Number one is the date of March 1, 2024, and at the same time, the amount of 10,000 dirhams penalty. So people are thinking that the deadline for registration is March 1 of 2024, okay? And then if you are not registered at the time, it means that you will be subjected to a penalty. But actually, that is not the case. So we're gonna clarify that one, okay? So that is not actually the case. So the purpose of this webinar is to clarify all the things that you need to know about the FTA decision number 3 of 2024. Okay, and yes, that's okay. So by the way, guys, I think we have seen the law, if I'm not mistaken, between February 27 or 28. So of course, FTA will not provide a deadline within a limited number of days. Okay. Yes, Mr. Zahir.
Yeah, so we'll go through this now, the change that has been issued. The tax registration is defined under Article 51. So any taxable person shall register for corporate tax with the authority in the form and manner and within the timeline prescribed by the authority and obtain a tax registration number except in circumstances prescribed by the minister. So, Arnold, so can we talk a little bit about this? What
Sure.
they mean by this?
Yeah, happy to discuss about this one. So for those who are familiar with Ministerial Decision number 43 of 2023, so this one describes those exempt entities wherein they are not required to register for corporate income tax. Okay, so also on this particular ministerial decision, we came to know that there are automatic exemptions. Also, those it means that, for example, government entities, government control entities, those extractive and non-extractive businesses, okay, they are not required to register for corporate income tax unless they have business and business activity. And at the same time, there are also those entities who are required to register, okay, even if they're exempted. So it was thoroughly discussed in ministerial decision. And here, of course, now this here the timeline prescribed by the authority. Actually, we have been waiting for this timeline. Okay, so the reason we have FTA decision number 3, 2024 is to fill up one of the gaps of article number 51 of the city law. So by the way, for those who are not who are surprised that it came out, actually this should be expected that of course the authority will formally describe a deadline for registering for corporate income tax. Okay, so we're gonna be discussing about the what are the things that you have to know about this particular decision. Yes, Mr. Zahir.
We'll move to the next slide. Right. So here, what they're saying is that the date is in question is 1st March 2024, and there's going to be a division. There's going to be companies that are registered before 1st of March and existing before 1st of March, and then those after. So this date is going to be sort of, let's say, the line by which we're going to be defining how people will be assessing themselves. Okay, so here is just the illustration. So you have the companies established before the decision. So those companies that were already in existence before 1st of March, the FTA has specified a set of deadlines based on the date of license issuance. And these deadlines will vary across different periods, ranging from 31st May to 31st December 2024. So in essence, all companies that were existing and operating before 1st of March 2024, by end of this year, you would have been registered. Okay. Now, then we have another set of companies, those that were established after the decision. So there's going to be a more forward-looking framework designed to integrate these businesses into the corporate tax system from their inception. And we're going to have a look at that in the next slides. Okay, so under the UAE corporate tax, financial statements must be prepared and accounting standards and principles that are accepted in the UAE. Okay, so that's almost a foregone conclusion and understanding for everyone. Now, what do we mean by a resident? So we have different types of residents. So I'm going to pull this up here. We have the companies established in the UAE. Then you have companies established outside the UAE, but place of effective management is in the UAE. outside the UAE, but it is effectively managed in the UAE. And then you have the natural person engaged in business and business activity in the UAE. These are the three types of entities over here that should be maintaining their their books of accounts under the accepted accounting principles, and accordingly then must be registered for corporate tax. Arnold, you want to discuss this a little bit further?
Okay, so of course we have to inform him what are your companies here. So when we say companies established in the UAE, so we're looking at those LLC, okay, public joint stock or private joint stock companies. Also, if your company is established in the free zone, okay, and then also we are actually waiting for those other companies or entities that will be considered as resident juridical person, wherein the cabinet decision is still outstanding. Okay, so also if you are a natural person here, example of that are those sole establishment, okay, individual, okay, civil companies, partners in a partnership, okay, also includes freelancers. Okay, Mr. Zahir has already mentioned what is a place of effective management. All of them, all of this we have display here will be considered as resident.
Yeah. So, yeah, moving to the next.
Okay, Mr. Zahir.
Yeah, so now I think we should be looking at resident juridical persons. I think folks will also, we have the deadlines here that we've posted, okay? And this will give you the timeline for everyone over here. So let's have the understanding is that if a juridical person is, this is for the companies that are registered before the 1st of March 2024. As I said, the first group that we're discussing, they will be, this table is important for them. So the deadline will be, as you can see, we have posted over here, based on the date of license issuance, irrespective of the year. So the year doesn't matter. It is when the date when the license was issued. So you have it here for for those who have the license issued in January, in February. Well, 31st, they'll be the first to go. 31st May 2024 is their deadline, and those who are in March, deadline is the 30th of June. So you can calculate that 3 months. So it's about 3 months by which they, from the effective date of this issuance. So the deadline is the taxable person has more than one license. The deadline is the license issued the earliest. So this is in case you have different dates. We have to err on the side of caution, and the license that is issued the earliest is the one that should be followed. Okay. Now, here, I think we have an illustration. Arnold, do you want to walk everyone through this?
Okay, so using the table here, so we have an example, company A, okay, LLC, license was issued on 15 August of 2021. So in this case, what you have to do is to ignore the 2021. Okay, look at only on the on the month, okay, wherein the license was issued, which is August. Okay, so therefore, looking at the table itself, if your company's license has been issued in August, your deadline will be October of 2024. So as simple as that. Okay, so it means that in this case, you have to be aware of the license issuance and then refer to the table. Okay, and then you'll come to know what is the deadline of you to register for the corporate income tax.
Yeah. Okay, now let's look at what happens if, for those companies that are established after the second group that we were talking about, after the date of 1st of March. So a juridical person that is a resident, incorporated, otherwise established or recognized after the effective date of FTA decision number 3 shall submit a tax registry application in accordance to the following. So it will be 3 months from the date of incorporation and establishment or recognition. So this could be a person that is incorporated or otherwise established or in the UAE, including a free zone person. So let's put out the timeline over here. We have the 1st of March marked the effective date of the FTA decision number 3. Then we have 15th June 2024 is the establishment date. So after 1st of March, what will be their deadline to register? Well, 3 months, 15th September 2024, right? So any companies that after this 1st of March date, they have the establishment date, 3 months after that, they should be, that's their deadline, and they should be registered for corporate tax.
Yes.
Right. So, and also let's talk to folks, those who are the next category is effectively managed and controlled in the UAE. What would be the case for them?
Okay, so in this case, of course, we can say that one of the resident juridical person in the UAE are those companies established or outside the UAE, but the control, okay, and management of that entity outside is within the UAE. So it means that decision is being made in the UAE. Okay, for example, the directors, the owners, okay, are located in the UAE. Okay, therefore, those company has to register for the corporate income tax 3 months from the end of the financial year of that person. Okay, so in our example here, okay, of course, the FTA decision becomes effective March 1, 2024. And of course, for example, the company established outside the UAE is having a 31 December as its financial year. In this case, they have to be registered for the corporate income tax in the UAE before, okay, March 31 of 2025. Okay. This one is it also means that there's a you have to be careful, okay, not to exceed that deadline in case the POEM of that company is in the UAE.
Great. Excuse me. Okay, so what about a person that has a permanent establishment in the UAE, right? What would be the deadline for them? Well, in this case, the FTA decision has said their deadline will be 9 months from the date of existence of the permanent establishment. Now, this is a bit confusing for us, so we'll show you what we're trying to understand. I think how we've understood it. So we have the deadline, we have it here. So it says a person 9 months from the date of existence of the permanent establishment. Well, in that case, if some a permanent establishment like a branch existed on the 1st of January, the deadline would be September 2023, which doesn't make kind of sense since the effective date of the FTA decision was 1st March. So I think the FTA needs to provide a bit more clarity in this case when we're dealing with what they've said on permanent establishments. Arnold, what is your take on this?
Okay, so in this case, it's also as you have mentioned, there's some confusion here. Okay, we're in what if the permanent establishment, okay, which is non-resident, okay, has been existing in the UAE way back. Okay, so In this regulation, they mentioned they have to be registered 9 months from the date of existence of the PE. When we say existence of the PE, it can be the original date wherein they have been licensed in the UAE. So that one will become a past date. Okay, it can be before March 1, 2024. As we have mentioned, March 1, 2024 is the effectivity of this FTA decision. So that one will create a confusion, okay, when it comes to the non-resident. So by the way, guys, I'm giving you a quick background on non-resident juridical person. So there are only certain occasions wherein they have to register for corporate income tax, okay? So non-resident juridical person, they have to register for the corporate income tax only, guys, only if they have a P in the UAE or they have a nexus in the UAE. Okay, and then sometimes non-resident is earning only UAE source income. In that case, they are not required to register for corporate income tax because, of course, the UAE source income is subject to withholding tax of 0%. That's why they are not required to register for corporate income tax. Okay, so in other words, it's mandatory for them to register only if, number one, they establish a PE in the UAE, and at the same time, there's an existing nexus in the UAE.
Yep. Let's move to the next. Yeah, so this, as you said, need more clarity. Moving to the next, we're looking at the non-resident juridical person. This is if they have a nexus. So now this is regarding non-resident juridical person on or after effective date shall submit a tax registration application according to the following. So if a person has a nexus in the UAE, 3 months from the date of establishment of that nexus. So if the nexus was established on 15th of August, it's 3 months from then, your deadline will be 15th of November 2024. So on or after the effective date. Yeah, Arnold, what is the nexus for those who may not know what a nexus in the UAE is? We did a webinar on this previously.
Yes, yes. Okay, nexus is it means connection. So on the only way a non-resident juridical person will have a connection in the UAE is if in case that they own an immovable property in the UAE. Okay, so it means that the non-resident have purchased or acquired immovable property in the UAE. Okay, and then that immovable property is actually earning some rental income, okay, or any other types of income that derives from that existing nexus. Okay, so in our example, effectivity date of the decision is March 1, 2024. Suddenly, a non-resident has acquired immovable property in the UAE, for example, an office space. Okay, that is 15 August of 2024. So they have only 3 months, okay, to register for corporate income tax in the UAE.
See, the questions are coming in. Thank you for putting them into the chat box. We will take them up at the end. So now moving to the next, this is for a resident natural person who is conducting a business or business activity during 2024 calendar year, Gregorian calendar year, or subsequent years. What will be the deadline for tax registration? Well, for that, it will be 31st March of the subsequent Gregorian calendar year. So bring up the illustration. So natural person conduct a business activity and the revenue exceeds 1 million dirhams. Well, your deadline to register for UAE corporate tax would be 31st of March, 2025. Right? Any other comments on this, Arnold?
Okay, so again, for the natural person, those conducting a business and business activity, okay, in case that your turnover is below 1 million, okay, you don't have to register for corporate income tax, okay. However, when it exceeds the 1 million dirhams. Okay, that's the limit. We're talking about revenue, guys, or turnover. It's mandatory for you to register. So, what will happen? Your deadline will be on March 31, 2025. Of course, in computing your revenue, okay, you have to take note that you have to exclude any income that is coming from wages or salary. Exclude those rental income, okay, from an investment in real estate, and also any dividend, of course, that you earn in the UAE. Earnings from investment in shares, you have to exclude that in computing the 1 million.
Right, and so now in the same vein, if we had a non-resident person who's conducting a business during 2024 calendar year or subsequent years, whose total turnover derived in the calendar year exceeds the threshold specified in the relevant tax legislation. So as we've illustrated here, the threshold was exceeded on 15th of November 2024. So 3 months from that would be 15th February 2025 is the deadline to register for corporate tax. Right? Now, moving to what is getting everyone fired up to get on top of this? Well, it's the penalties. And so we're just going to have the penalty over here as sort of listed. We have a sort of a mock document here given. So the cabinet decision number 75 was updated to include penalty for failure to submit a tax registration application within the time frames. So a penalty will be 10,000 dirhams. So anyone who has failed to submit the tax registration on time, they will be facing a penalty of 10,000 dirhams. So keep aware of this on your deadlines and requirements for your entities to get registered. So what is needed for the registration? Well, we've listed out here. You have the, it would be the expected requisite documents for the company. And of course, the authorized persons who would be managing these companies. So similar to when we did the VAT registration, you have the power of attorney, Emirates ID of authorized person, passport copies, passport copies of Emirates ID of any partners, owners, trade license, articles of incorporations, memorandums. And if one partner is a legal or juridical person, you would need also the recent license. Of course, there will be others also required to be submitted to the FTA as for the application. Right. So some registration tips. Arnold, you want to go through some of these tips for folks that they should be thinking about with respect to getting registered?
Okay, so in this case, I think everyone already got it. We have emphasized, okay, about the license issuance. Okay, of course, it's very important also to know whether your company is treated as a natural person or a juridical person. Okay, because as of the moment, there is still some confusion when it comes to being a sole establishment, okay, sole proprietorship establishment, okay, and then those civil companies, okay, and then those who are LLC, there are still confusion when it comes to that. So if you are not, for example, if you're not clear on that one, feel free to come to us, and then we will inform you about what will be the difference between that. Okay, because guys, take note. If you are confused on what type of entity or license that you have, okay, there will be a possible risk that you might be missing the required deadline. Okay, and of course, resident and non-resident. Okay, you have to take note what kind of whether you are a resident for tax purposes in the UAE. Okay, and of course, if you are having a foreign entity, okay, there are some rules when it comes to place of effective management. Okay, so it's very important for you to know all of them because definitely it will affect your registration status. Okay, and then of course come up with a deadline after knowing all those information. Okay, so of course we also encourage everyone to come up with an impact assessment, okay, an analysis on how corporate income tax will affect you. So okay, and of course you have to involve the management also in your registration. Okay, it's of course as we always mention, corporate income tax, it's not about financial or your accounting department or finance department. It is an organizational compliance. So you have to involve the management and all other departments in this particular compliance. And the most important part, of course, is to update your MRA tax. Okay, before you go for registration, make sure that you already updated your corporate income tax registration. Again, this is always we have seen so far. When we are registering for corporate income tax, we kind of notice that the partner's details is not updated. And there's also a notice from the FTA that your license is expired. Okay, so take note, guys. This has been remember in value-added tax the rules of edit and amendment. Okay, so take note if the information is already outdated, your license expired, there has been changes in your organization. Okay, you have an obligation to update the FTA when it comes to this. So the moment there's an amendment, you have only 20 business days to involve or inform the FTA on this case. So what will happen? If you don't do that, okay, there's a possibility of a late edit or amendment. So that will result to a penalty of 5,000 dirhams. Okay, so that's why, guys, if you see a notice from the FTA, for example, license has expired, okay, you have to update that immediately. Okay, so given that introduction, make sure that you update the details before you go for corporate income tax registration. Again, the edit and amendment, okay, the amendment might take time because remember, the moment you make an amendment, it requires FTA to review the documents. So you might want to consider the timeline, okay, wherein you submitted your amendment. FTA will review that information. Okay, so in this case, if you will not take consideration of those in your timeline, there's also a possibility of you exceeding the deadline for you to register. Okay, so keeping those timeline, you have to keep it also in the deadline for you to register for corporate income tax. Okay, then of course accuracy of the data is very important. There's also we also have experiences wherein the old information, okay, that has been made in the earlier MRA tax, okay, if you are not able to make those amendment as well, it will also affect your registration for the corporate income tax. So make sure that you are entering accurate data, whether it is for the value-added tax or corporate income tax or even in the excise tax. Okay, because those information will be forwarded in city registration. Register early. Okay, for example, if you are confused about issuance of the license, establishment date, okay, so in this case, we are advising you to register early. Okay, so that's why remember in our past webinar, okay, we also at the end of that we also always advising everyone to register even before the arrival of the FTA decision number 3 of 2024. Register early. Again, and the most important part here is consult the experts. Okay, okay. So of course, to avoid the mishaps, okay, when it comes to corporate. So by the way, guys, registration is only the first step. There are more to that when it comes to corporate income tax. Yes, Mrs. Zahir?
I think that will it comes to the regular preparation tips that we are always suggesting, and there's as you have mentioned, registration is just the first step. We have other areas that need proper attention, and especially for those who are in the free zone companies, free zone entities, dealing with you really need to assess whether you're meeting the qualifying activities list. You're also whether you're going above the de minimis rule, and that could result in you no longer being a free zone person. So there's a lot of different aspects to this that people need to consider. This preparation requires consultation and advice. And of course, I think a lot of you will require a review of your chart of accounts to ensure that it is lining up with how the tax base will be calculated before reporting. That said, thank you so much, everyone, for participating. It was great to have you. We'll be having another session soon, and do your best with respect to getting yourself prepared for this important era of corporate tax. It's great. This is one of the first steps that you've taken, so very good that you guys are here with us and exchange of information, and from here on, it will make your preparations easier. Okay, from the team at Alliott Hadi Shahid and Alliott Management Consulting, I wish you the best for the rest of the week and hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you.